So yesterday we got super technical in some ways. And so now I want to talk about, okay, so if you've got the ideas from the Discover Your Identity diagram, and then we did the whole passions to products, and we brainstormed like 15 or so ideas around, what was it, playing with puppies that Brad liked? And basically looked at the economy of products and services that grows up around, say, dog care or dogs in general. And then we took dog collars as one potential product and then looked at the market that was online, added search terms that had purchasing intent, like buy dog collars online, and then ultimately looked at how we could sew up our own little section of that space by getting a domain such as buydogcollarsonline.com, which actually we discovered was available. And then we looked at how could you put the suppliers in place, looking at things like Alibaba, Hong Kong Trade and Development Corp, and global sources. But we stopped sort of talking about how you'd actually build the main part of your business, which is the website. So that's what I want to talk about today. So how many people here are familiar with Elance? How many people have done a project on Elance or used it for anything material?
Yeah.
What was your experience? Was it good?
Yeah, for the most part, pretty good.
Yeah. So Elance is one online talent platform, and then there's others like guru.com, freelancer.com, and there's probably some more that I'm not even aware of. But for me, since 2008, I've done just under 100 projects on Elance, totaling over $41,000. And as you see, what we're talking about here in terms of the actual price you pay to build components of your business using a platform like Elance, that $41,000 is super high leverage because, well, we'll get to that in a second, but that's a development expense that then supports, a business asset or a team that ideally is allowing you to make much more from the operations of your business. So here's sort of I call it sort of like a 1, 2, 3 process to building a website. This is something I do consistently for my own businesses and for clients. And it starts with, so the 3 parts of it really are doing a logo, so actually establishing or developing your brand, and then doing home page and inner page design templates, and then finally technical integration. And so this is like 1. And so if you look at it, these are basically 3 separate jobs that you'd post on Elance. For anybody that's not familiar with Elance, it's free to post a job. So when we talk about how to do a logo, you actually go and write a description of what you're looking for, post it, and that's free, and then there's a whole network of hundreds of thousands of contractors and teams that are distributed all around the world that bid on your job. And so once you post the job, you have a workroom that's created. And then you'll get bids as soon as minutes after the job's posted, and in 24 hours for graphic design work or homepage, landing page designs. Within 24 hours, it's not uncommon to have 20 or more very competitive bids from teams that want to start working on your project right away. And so the trick is to break the website development out into these 3 components. So the old way, or sort of the old mindset of building a website, at least back 4 or 5 years ago, what I saw a lot of was even using online talent platforms, people would say, I need a website developed, and there's going to be about 20 pages, and we need some really good design work, and there's got to be a store on there because we want to do e-commerce. And then you get these bids, that are thousands of dollars because you've got teams that are basically comprised of designers, developers, and coders and programmers that are doing a combined bid to do the entire website development. But what I've found, the way to save an immense amount of money is to break it down into this 3-step process. So you start with the logo. And so the logo, encapsulated in that, is actually determining your brand itself. So if we go back to yesterday, and where we stopped was, let's just play this example forward and say that we use buydogcollarsonline.com. So that is your domain. But then the actual brand for your company could be something totally separate and distinct. So if you go to buydogcollarsonline.com, the actual logo that you see on the page doesn't need to be the exact same words, right? It could be something along the lines of dog collar specialists, dog collar superstore, right? Along the lines of like the two examples I gave from one of my own businesses, which was USB Superstore, a client business, which was Tactical Flashlight Specialists, both housed on a domain that was capturing search traffic that had purchase intent built in. Everybody with me? So when you go to design a logo, you put up a job post. Let's do, well, you don't need to draw that just yet. But you actually post a job and you'd say something along the lines of this. We're looking for a talented design team to do a logo for our business that's in the dog care and dog product space. You keep it general. You don't tell them the name. You don't give any specifics in the job post. We're looking for 3 to 4 rounds of revisions. And here's a couple examples of styles of logos that we like. And so then your job becomes to do a little bit of research online and find some logos and some websites that exemplify the look and feel that you want for your business. And then in your job post, you simply cite, I like these 3 or 4 websites or logos stylistically, color scheme-wise, look and feel. And then you're starting to give these contractors an idea of what you're looking for before they even do a bid, so that they can start to get in their mind, what they're going to produce for you. So the actual job post can be as short as 5 or 6 sentences. You say, we're looking for a talented design team to do logo development for a business in the dog care industry. We focus mainly on accessories for dogs, and here's a couple examples of logos and styles that we like. We'd like 3 or 4 rounds of revisions, and we're ready to get started on this right away. Look forward to working with you. It could literally be as short as that. So the point here, and going with the whole title of this talk of how to build a website in 10 hours for $1,000 or less, is that's 10 hours of your time. And what you do with these online talent platforms is you're able to leverage yourself to such a degree, because say it takes 15 minutes to post the job. Okay, so now you've got the job posted. And let's say in 24 hours, you've got anywhere from 10 to 30 bids. Now the thing you should know is that at this point, I've watched Elance grow up so much. Now there's literally hundreds of thousands of teams that are on the contractor side of the equation. So in Elance terminology, you are a client, and then everybody that bids on your job post is a contractor. Now I think they want them to call them Elancers or freelancers, but same idea. And so now say you've spent about 15 minutes writing the job and posting it. You can go take a walk or do something else. You come back a couple hours later or the next day, you go into your workroom, and now you've got this flow of all the different bids. Similar to how many other consumer-focused sites work nowadays, the contractors' profiles are such that they have a star rating, they have total number of jobs worked, cumulative earnings, and a link to their portfolio. So a quick glance at the bids, and of course they have text that they'll submit saying, hello sir, we'd love to work on your project, please see these examples of our previous work, etc. And then they'll have the price that they're bidding on your project. So sort of the quick way to scan through is to I look at the star rating and the total number of jobs done. And if it's anywhere from like 4.5 to 4.7 stars up over 15 jobs plus, then it's pretty reasonable to assume that you're going to get a high, or at least that they're a high quality team. And then what you do is you do like a right click on the portfolio, and I open it up in a separate window. And I quickly scan through some of the previous work that they've done and see if it's in line with the look and feel that you want for your logo. Now I give them a little bit of leeway because of course they're working for other clients and other clients may not be looking for the same thing you want, but your intuition should tell you pretty quick if you're seeing like logos that look like they belong in a video game, but you want something that's more like classy and elegant and looks upscale. So if they haven't done anything like what you're looking for, or even if you don't really know what you're looking for, but it strikes you as off, then I just move on and qualify the next ones. Now, how much do you think it costs to get a logo developed nowadays?
Couple hundred.
Couple hundred?
Less.
Any other guesses?
Depends.
I routinely pay $50 to get logo developed. And it's not just that. So let's say what we're working with here is like, oh, you're gonna die on me? There you go. So for $50, you can get 8 initial logo designs and usually at least 3 to 4 rounds of revisions. And for you guys, I'm happy to make, if you start going down this path, like now Elance has a way where you can invite in other team members. And so we can actually use my 5-year-old Elance account with a lot of work history to post a job, invite in a team or two that I work with consistently, and then I can set you guys as the hiring manager so that you can we can work in parallel and you get your feet wet and start doing this stuff. So it's pretty neat because, so for $50, you can get a team that's going to do 8 initial designs. They submit them to you. And then you basically look through those and say, okay, I like logo number 1, but why don't you change the colors to be more like this? And why don't you adjust the tagline to look like that? And then within usually a day or less, they'll submit 6 or so redesigns based on your input. And then you go back and forth. And in my experience, I found that in 3 to 4 rounds of revisions, you can get the entire thing put together. So then you get.
How long does that usually take?
Yeah, so a total. So in terms of, if you're really on the ball and you have a team that turns around stuff in 24 hours or less, then that's under a week. But in terms of like fitting project development and business development into your lifestyle, it's not a huge deal if you like let things go for a few days and then you check back in and do that. So one of the beautiful things about Elance is that once you get the project set up and posted, you can actually manage it from your inbox. So you can reply to an email and it'll publish into the chronological feed of messages, and so it'll have a record on Elance, and it'll also ping to the contractor. So then Elance actually becomes this intermediary between you and the contractor.
Do they resolve disputes, or if there's any kind of problem with arbitration, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So let's zoom out a little bit here. So if now you've got all these bids, right? And say you find a team that you like and the price looks right, they've got a decent work history, their portfolio shows that they're doing work that's something about what you're looking for. Now you want to engage them, so you click Award Project. So when you click Award, it takes you to a screen where you're finalizing the terms. So here's a pro tip. If their bid is, say, $55, if you click Award, it'll show Finalize Awarding this project for $55. And it sort of looks like you should just click Yes, but the other button is Edit Terms. You're always going to want to edit terms, even on these low-dollar projects. So what I'll do is I'll click Edit Terms, and I'll set like $15 or $20 initial deposit, and then the remaining amount, so $35 or $40 for final delivery. And then on the award page, you have a place where you can upload an NDA, and Elance gives you a stock NDA. really you're protected through ELANS. Their terms of service is such that, so if the thought's going through your mind, what if they take my idea or something like that? It doesn't happen. It never happens. These teams are specialized in doing graphic design. They're specialized in doing web development. My feeling is they wouldn't be ELANS contractors if they had the entrepreneurial mindset of building businesses. So you really don't need to worry about them, like, quote, taking your idea and doing something else with it. But you're still protected nonetheless, and you can put up an NDA. For other types of work, the NDA may be more important. Like, for example, on my book, right, I found an editor for less than $200 that did line-by-line editing on nearly 200 pages of the book with multiple rounds of revisions. And since that was something that had, a publishing relationship in place, I did need to have an NDA contract. You don't even have to do back and forth like sign, scan, and upload. If you put the NDA up there, if they accept the project terms, then it's considered in effect, which is another plus. And you also have protection as the client. If there is a dispute, there's a resolution process. I may have only used it once across these 100 projects. It's gotten pretty streamlined at this point. So now let's talk about what do you actually tell them for your logo design. Of course, as you're doing this logo design project, you're making a decision on what the brand name is going to be for your business. And from my experience, a good logo is comprised of the name of the brand, a tagline, and some suggestive imagery. So, as an example, for like tactical flashlight specialist. So we had the name of the business, tactical flashlight specialist. We obviously need that name in the logo. Then we have the tagline. So then we had a few variations like lighting the night done right, or something that's catchy that you turn a phrase and it also is in line with the focus of the business. Or for USB Superstore, innovation in a flash, right? It's a cute, catchy little tagline, because when you go to a website, what's the first thing you look at? If you're like me, I glance at the logo and I read their little tagline and I glance at the homepage and see what it's telling me in 5 or 8 seconds. I should have an idea if this is a company that's going to give me what I'm looking for. And then some suggestive imagery, right? So you can have, for the flashlight one, you can have an outline of a flashlight, maybe with a beam that's lighting up the logo. For the USB one, it was an outline of a flash drive with the word USB Superstore coming out from it and across, and the tag on underneath. So whereas when you post the job, you're giving it in general terms, saying, we're in the dog care industry, we have accessories for dogs. And then one other thing you can put on the job post is specific information and reference sites will be provided to all qualified bidders. So you're basically telling them that when people bid on the project, either before you hire them, you can message back and forth, or after you hire them, that's when you give them the full design spec for what you're looking for. And so that's the time when you tell them, okay, great, well, the name of our business is this, and we're looking for, a couple illustrations along the lines of maybe a dog collar, right? If you're a dog collar specialist, then maybe the word dog collar specialist has a little leash or a collar around it. And then whatever the tagline would be for that business, written underneath. So that's the actual first round of logos that they're going to submit back to you, is like 6 or 8 variations on that theme. With me so far, everybody?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now we've spent maybe a total of 30 to 45 minutes posting the job, doing a quick review of the providers, awarding the job, and then when you set the milestones, you've got, say, a $15, $20 initial deposit, $35, $40 final delivery. Then you click award. The next thing you're going to see is fund escrow. Woo. And so So one of the other benefits of Elance is that they have a built-in escrow platform. One of the hazards of doing business online previously was having to coordinate payment with a bunch of different contractors in different countries with different currencies. Now Elance is the total clearinghouse for all of that. So if you agree on $55, you upload or you fund escrow for this initial $15, $20 payment. Then you can either release that right away once the contractor accepts your project, or however you have it defined based on, initial escrow will be released upon first round of logo design submitted. So now you're matching your financial investment with the work that they're carrying out for you. And this is both a huge benefit, and it's also a protection from risk in case something does go wrong. In this case, at most, you're out of pocket 15, 20 bucks. And that's even setting aside the resolution process. So it's a very low investment way to get, in my opinion, pretty high quality work done in a safe and protected manner without the hassle of doing currency exchange and all of this. Yeah, what's up, Brad? Okay, great. So now let's say that you've gone back and forth. They say, okay, well, here's our revisions. What do you think? You give them some feedback. Okay, why don't you change the color scheme here and make an adjustment like this? Capitalize the words on the tagline, send. Okay, they come back, hello sir, please see these six new design submissions. Okay, now you've got the one you want. Great. So when you finally get the logo that you want, then the final delivery is in what's called a layered Photoshop format. Or sometimes it's Adobe Illustrator. And what this is, for anybody that's unfamiliar, is like when you're actually doing design, you'll get your JPEG file as the logo that you'd actually use on an email signature or on letterhead. But you'll also get the actual design file, the layered Photoshop file. Okay, so now that feeds, so now we just sort of accomplished number one.
Just a real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
When contractors get on Elance, is there a criteria that Elance puts them, any sort of screening process, or is that just all based on the reviews and the?
Actually, there is. That's a good question. There's actually a ton of criteria. So if you're doing, if you're putting yourself out there as a copywriter, well, then they have a couple examinations, so you can get like an English proficiency, grammar proficiency, and I think those things are useful to see, but I don't really put too much weight on them. But I think they even have like programming language certifications. Some of it is self-selecting from the contractors, but the reality is that from my experience, that the star rating, and then you can even read feedback that other clients, people on our side of the equation that have left. If you have a client that's saying, she took a little longer than expected, but the work ended up being good, but they still give them 5 stars, you just say, am I really in a rush? Is this going to be a priority? And you just start to get a feel through these different like credibility metrics. But yeah, that's a good question.
Jesse, what are your thoughts on doing it yourself? Like if you're, decently savvy with Photoshop versus getting a super professional one on Elance?
If you're super savvy on Photoshop and you want to take the time, then go for it. What I'll tend to do, since I'm not super savvy on those, I have a basic working knowledge, and that seems to be most people's experience. There's going to be some places in the business development process where you are weaker. So maybe you're great on Photoshop, but you're not a programmer, right? Or maybe you're great at programming, but you need to leverage your skills and have a team that do some heavy lifting on the code. What I've done historically is I'll just sketch literally on a piece of paper the initial idea I have, and then either take a picture with my iPhone and upload it, or scan and post it into the workroom and say, here's my idea. And then I'll always also say, this is my idea, this is what I'm looking for, but please also submit 2 to 3 designs based on your own creativity and use your imagination. So I want to give these guys, so think about if you're on their side, right? You're doing this almost commoditized design work. Somebody that says, use your own creativity and have 2 or 3 designs based on your own creative input. That's something that's empowering, and it tends to get people to come up with good ideas, and instead of just saying, do exactly like I say here in this 10-step process. So I try and give them a long leash, because You never know, you may be surprised with what they come up with. So we good on logo? I'll move on to the next step of the process here. Is this really is a 1, 2, 3 in the sense that once you get that layered design file back from the logo designer, well, then you have two options. You can either re-engage that same firm for homepage and inner page design, or you can post a new job. In either case, the logo is basically, so in this $50 project, you're outlining the overall look and feel for your company or your online business and your brand. So then, homepage and inner page design, let's talk for a second about what that means. Instead of the old school way, which is we need a website developed and please give us a comprehensive bid for the time it's going to take and so forth. What I've gotten into the habit of doing is posting a job that says we need homepage design and inner page template design. And what that means is, the homepage has a unique look and feel. And majority of the inner pages of a site, right, when you click on about or services or any other link from the homepage, they generally fall into the same look and feel. So that's your inner page template. So instead of saying we need a 20-page website built, you say we need a homepage and an inner page template. And so now it's a 2 design job that you're looking for. Does that make sense? And so then you do the same thing. You post the job saying we're looking for a homepage and inner page design template. And in the job posting now, you say, okay, well, we've got a logo designed. We've got the name, and we'll convey this to all qualified bidders. We're a business that's in the dog care space. We do accessories for dogs, and we need our homepage and inner page design, right? And then essentially, you post that, and then people will do the exact same process, right? They bid, you qualify. In terms of logo and homepage designs, it's going to be a lot of the same teams, or there's a lot of big shops on Elance that do tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of work. So then you can either say to the team that did your logo design, hey, we really like the work you did. Do you want to get first preview at doing our homepage and inner page design? Well, that's one way to ingratiate yourself with them and get a good deal, because now they feel like they've earned some of your trust and they don't want to mess it up by doing a subsequent project. Or you can put it out to competitive bid and get a whole new round of bid submissions. Now, how much do you think it costs to do homepage and inner page designs?
A couple of $100.
That's pretty accurate. I'd say on the lower end, 100 to 150. If you're willing to spend it, 250 to 350 or 400 will get you a pretty good quality designer. And then what you do, right, you award the job, you do the same thing. Now let's say it's a $200 job. So now I'll say, okay, well, I'll do a $50 initial deposit and $150 for final delivery. So at this point, we're out of pocket a total of about $100, and we've got a logo designed and the basis for a website, which is the homepage and inner page template. Then you just simply upload that layered design file that your logo designer gave you, and you say, based on the look and feel, the graphic sensibilities, and the overall color scheme of this logo, I want you to develop the homepage and inner page concept. This saves you a lot of time of describing colors and elements on the page and so forth. But what I will do is, so here's sort of I'll call this sort of the standard like homepage layout for a product-focused site. So then you've got your logo in the upper left, and then you've got a few menu items like about, services, store, contact, blog, let's say. And then what's common, what I see a lot of, is having what's called the technical name is a jQuery slider, but you've probably seen these when you go to a home page and every 3 or 4 seconds there's a banner that rotates and slides around. Does that make sense? You guys are familiar with this? And then having like 3 boxes or so underneath, and then maybe some more information here that's text, and then your footer at the bottom. So what you want to do is either reference a site that has a layout similar to this, or if you're looking for something particular, you can reference 3 or 4 sites, and that'll get you going in the right direction. And then in terms of the actual sliders here, the end goal is to have a site where if somebody goes to your web page and they just sit for 10 seconds, it's sliding across and explaining 80% of what you guys do. So what do you do here is you have, I'll come back to that in a second, but on the first one for the homepage design, they'll do one of these designs mocked up for you. Now maybe that's going to be your top selling product, right? Your featured product with a benefit statement, right? The number one top selling dog collar that makes all the ladies turn their heads, or something like that. Some little play on words of a statement with a nice looking image, and they'll source these from stock photos and other places, and basically present back to you a homepage layout. And either at the same time or just after you get the homepage look and feel, you'll get the inner page, which generally looks like a 2/3 column width and then a 1/3 width that has like sidebar widgets. And those can link to the store, to your blog, maybe a Twitter stream or a Facebook like box or some other elements of social proof. So then this could be a featured product. This could be become a distributor or some other opportunity. And this could be maybe see our blog if your blog is like active and you continually post. Of course, you could hire someone from Elance to do that for you as well. But ultimately, you want to give them a couple references of how you want the homepage and inner page to look. And then they're going to do the design submissions, and you go through this sort of 3 or 4 round of revision process until you've got the look and feel. So what do you think the final deliverable is from your second job of homepage and inner page designs? Nobody? Yeah, what's the final deliverable that they're going to give to you? If the final deliverable on the logo is what?
PSDs.
Yep. Yep.
Wouldn't it be HTML?
Oh, good answer. So it's going to be both. You're going to want the layered design file for the homepage and inner page, and the HTML CSS. HTML CSS is basically saying the design coded such that it is essentially a website. Although it's not live yet, you'll get a folder with HTML and CSS documents, any images that are used on the site, and it's pretty standard that they just deliver all of this to you as the final deliverable. So now we're what? Let's say $50 in. Let's just be generous here and say $250. And now we've basically got we have the basis for a website at this point. If you're a technical person or if you're tech savvy, you could put this into like Dreamweaver or some other development program, get your hosting and your domain, and upload these and fill in your content. And for all intents and purposes, you've got a live site. But really, to continue on with this whole website in 10 hours for $1,000 or less idea, the third job that you do, and this is now a different group of people that you're talking to on Elance, is saying we need a technical integration specialist for our online e-commerce business. You basically are saying we have a homepage and an inner page template in layered PSD format as well as HTML CSS, and we need a technical specialist to integrate our store. If you've got some offer to capture their name and email, let's say, right? Then on the back end you'd have some service like Aweber or MailChimp that's building an email database. And if you have any other dynamic functionality you want, like having a Facebook like box visible here, or showing an ability for people to click and tweet about your site or whatever. You can package all of that in to your technical integration job. And so what do you think it costs to hire a technical integration specialist to piece everything together and get your site totally live and functioning?
$700.
How much?
700 or less.
Or less? Yeah, I'd say it's actually less. Yes, $1,000 or less. Yeah, so at $50 is about as cheap as I'd find. A very good educated guess. $50 is about the cheapest I've found for quality logos. Of course, you can pay more. $150 to $250 is sort of baseline for homepage, interpage designs. If you want to be a little more generous and get an even higher quality designer, you can do that. I've found that around $350 to $450, depending on the scope. So if you have your shopping cart solution, you have your email provider, any other technical integration that needs to be done, this is the person that sews it all together. And the final delivery for this project is to publish your site live on your domain. So you literally want to chunk it such that the final delivery from your logo is you've established the brand and you've got the basis to do your homepage and interpage designs. The final delivery here is layered design files in HTML, CSS, so it's website ready. And then you get a technical specialist to build out so they take the interpage design and they make the About Us page. They make the services page. They make the blog page and attach WordPress if you want to use a blog. And then you want the final delivery from this job to be a fully functional website published live on your domain. Yes?
Do you typically continue using the same vendor to maintain and update the website?
Here's where I sort of draw the line. Oh, sorry, that should be here. So the logo and the homepage interpage is essentially the same skill as designer, but you get a better price by first calling it just a logo project, and then either doing a continuation, like you can rehire easily from within Elance, or post a private job and just invite them in. But that's essentially the same skill. Technical specialist is sort of in a league of their own. So going back to the old school, if you say, I need a website developed, well, then you're just pushing that responsibility onto a team that's a project manager that's going to coordinate all these different pieces. But it's very, very rare, in my experience, to find someone that's a good designer and a good developer. Does that answer your question?
I was actually more asking, like 6 months from now, crap, we need a whole new section.
Yeah, oh, got it.
Something broke.
Yeah.
Do you use the same team 1 to do the new design, team 2 to do the tech integration, or do you use other people, or how do you do it?
That's a great question. So after your website's live, and we'll talk about the 1 or 2 other pieces that make it a fully functioning website in a second, but you can always, it's all about incentives. So as you're talking to these designers, you can say, if you do a good job, I do a lot of projects, there's the potential for future work. So then you can sort of keep them in your periphery. At this point, I have 3 or so teams that I just basically use every time, because it's quicker and easier and I know that they provide quality. For the technical specialist, you can say, hey, we need you to integrate all of the technology, and the final delivery is publishing a fully functioning website live on our domain. And we'll also need auxiliary technical support from time to time. So if you do a good job, we'd love to look at doing what's called sort of a service level agreement, which can either be like a flat fee per month, maybe $150 a month to have them on call within 24 hours to fix stuff. Or it can be piecemeal, where you say, hey, now we want to add this new feature, and can you design like a pricing calculator if you want to have, if you're doing like a mortgage site or something, if you have technology pieces that require some programming, you can go out to the same people. So it's interesting now how programming has become almost a commodity. JavaScript, HTML, CSS programming, even heavier lifting stuff like Ruby on Rails and things like that. There's so much to learn in that field, but so many other people, and admittedly a lot of them are in India or Russia, are just so into like code that I find it much easier to source them. I guess as a general tip, I took 1 or 2 day class on HTML, CSS, a 3-day class on JavaScript so that I can understand and speak to them in that language. That's one thing that can help you get really good prices consistently, is being able to kind of speak in their language but not actually go into the code. But ultimately, that's the process for building a website with about 10 hours of your own time and $1,000 or less. So let's open up for some questions on that.